we could argue all day about what games helped define the 16-bit era of gaming. NBA Jam would certainly be mentioned in that conversation for many people. Released in 1993 in the arcades and to all home consoles, NBA Jam was a smash hit. But did you know that there is a 8-bit NBA Jam port for the Sega Game Gear? Of course there is, because NBA Jam was ported to every home console and handheld known to man at the time, but the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo ports are the most well known. The question is, of course, how can they get that high-flying action that you could find on consoles like the Sega Genesis at the time and cram it onto a Sega Game Gear cartridge? Well, you're about to find out how that fared. If you've never played NBA Jam before somehow, here's the basic synopsis. It's a 2-on-2 basketball game where realism is not an option. Originally conceived by Midway, Arena Entertainment and Iguana Entertainment handled the home ports. High-flying acrobatic dunks are the norm here, as well as beyond half-court shots. Hit 3 shots in a row with the player, and your player will catch fire, meaning their dunks will become more spectacular, and you will have unlimited turbo. However, this buff disappears once the other team scores a basket. Since it's an officially licensed NBA game, you get to play as real NBA players and teams. 2 players per team here. Each player has their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, on my hometown Orlando Magic, Scott Skiles is great at shooting 3-pointers, but is terrible at dunking. On the flip side, Nick Anderson is excellent at dunking, but can't really shoot 3-pointers. Each team has their own strengths and weaknesses, and it's fun to play as all of them to see which team fits your style. For the Game Gear port here of NBA Jam, you will enter your initials, then you will choose your team, and you must defeat every single NBA team. You'll have a password system to save your game, but that's it. Single player only, no multiplayer mode in this version. But I'm not too surprised about that. Anyone that has played the 16-bit counterparts of NBA Jam are going to have to get used to the Game Gear controls. For starters, the start button is the turbo button, and that threw me off a little bit. Not really the game's fault though, since the Game Gear only has a few buttons. You only have a limited amount of turbo, so you can't hold down the start button the entire time. On offense, you can tap one button to head fake, hold it to shoot, and press it with turbo to dunk. Tap the 2 button to pass, hold it to pass a little harder, and press it with turbo to do a super pass. If you just tap the turbo, you will throw elbows to help clear the way for your offensive counterpart. Hold the start button to run faster. On defense, tap or press the 1 button to block, or press it with turbo to do a super block. Press 2 or tap 2 to steal, and to use the turbo button as well to shove. Holding the turbo on defense will also make you run faster. Something else I didn't realize is to pause the game, you have to press 1 and 2 and start simultaneously. It was a little weird at first. I thought I couldn't pause the game at all for a while until I actually had to look it up, and I found the answer. A little odd. Now that I've explained the somewhat weird controls as best as I possibly can, how do they work in action? Believe it or not, after my first game, they felt pretty natural. I started to dominate the AI competition. But if you've ever played NBA Jam, you know darn well the game is not over until the clock says 0. There were a few instances where I had a large lead evaporate within a matter of minutes, like Michael Jordan had just taken the court and made all of the shots like Space Jam. Since this is an 8-bit portable version of a 16-bit game, it definitely plays a lot slower, but not slow enough to feel sluggish. You're not going to mistake this for the Genesis version, but did you really expect that on the Game Gear? Graphically, the game looks decent, if a little barren at times. To keep the action at a reasonable pace, a hit to the backgrounds was expected. Some cameras flash from the crowd when a highlight reel play is happening, but other than that, the crowd remains static. Player animations are decent though. They tried their best to get some of the high-flying dunk animations to work on the Game Gear, and I think for the most part they succeeded. Not really much for me to complain about here, there's just nothing that really stands out. Unfortunately for the sound is very bare bones. There's only 1 song that plays during the game, and 2 menu songs. That's it. They aren't unbearable to listen to by any means, they just get old rather quickly. Sound effects are there, but nothing really special about it. Other than when you catch fire and shoot the ball, kinda sounds like a meteor crashing. Reminds me of Missile Command in a way. But not really anything crazy or worth listening to. I ended up just muting my Game Gear and listening to music instead. It's also worth noting that the iconic NBA Jam announcer is nowhere to be found in this version. Now, as a Sega Game Gear collector, should you add this to your collection? I'd say absolutely. It's only a couple dollars and it's easy to find at most stores and on eBay. It'll be included in most lots if you buy games in lots, like I sometimes do. It's a fine version of NBA Jam, but don't consider it to be the best one. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and if you made it this far, congratulations! This is one of my full-length reviews, which I do weekly, and daily I do 1-minute retro reviews here on YouTube. If retro games are your style and you liked this video, consider giving this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I also stream retro games on Twitch at twitch.tv/GrandRetroStation. Thanks again everyone, and have a great rest of your day.